It was the most audacious predator reintroduction South America had ever attempted, and it began with 3 animals nobody wanted. On June 27th, 2021, inside the Iberá wetlands of northeastern Argentina, 3 jaguars born in captivity and never once having hunted a wild animal in their lives were released into one of the continent's most biologically explosive ecosystems. No jaguar had patrolled these wetlands for nearly 70 years. The swamps stretched in every direction, teeming with capybara, caiman, marsh deer, and giant river otters. Hundreds of thousands of animals packed into a landscape that had forgotten its apex predator entirely. What those 3 jaguars did next, with nothing but raw instinct and 70 kilograms of muscle, would rewrite the ecological story of an entire region, shatter assumptions held by conservation biologists for decades, and trigger a chain of events that nobody had prepared for. A team from Rewilding Argentina, the conservation organization that had spent nearly 2 decades pushing for this moment, stood at the edge of a specially constructed acclimatization enclosure deep inside Iberá National Park. Inside the enclosure, a female jaguar designated as Mariua paced the fence line with the controlled tension of an animal that had never needed to chase anything in its life. Every meal she had ever eaten had been placed in front of her. Now the gate was open, and the wetlands stretched ahead of her in every direction, flat and vast and alive with sound. She walked through the gate at 9:47 in the morning, paused at the threshold for 11 seconds, and then disappeared into the tall grass without looking back. Getting to that morning had required patience on a scale that most conservation projects never demand. The jaguar had been functionally extinct in Argentina since the 1950s, hunted to elimination across the northern provinces over the course of barely a century. The animal that had once sat at the center of indigenous cosmologies across the continent, revered by the Guarani people of this exact region as a spiritual guardian of the forest and the flood, had been systematically erased from the landscape by ranching culture, habitat destruction, and targeted killing campaigns that treated the jaguar as an enemy of cattle rather than an architect of ecosystems. Rewilding Argentina's founder, Tompkins Conservation co-founder Sofia Heinonen, had been working toward the reintroduction since 2004. Jaguars capable of taking down horses and cattle are not neighbors that local ranching communities welcome without serious negotiation. Years of community engagement, economic incentive programs, and the slow accumulation of scientific data on the wetlands carrying capacity all had to align before a single animal could be moved. When the animals finally arrived, they came from zoos and rescue centers across South America. Mariua had been born in a Brazilian rescue facility. Her eventual mate, a male named Romulo, had originated from a Paraguayan breeding program. A second female, Yacare, had spent her early years in an Argentine zoo before being transferred to Iberá for behavioral conditioning. None of them had ever killed anything larger than a chicken. The question that hung over everything was whether captive-born animals with no hunting experience and no mother to learn from could rediscover behaviors encoded somewhere in their evolutionary memory and actually function as wild predators. The answer came faster than anyone expected, and it was not gentle. Within 4 days of Mariua's release, camera traps placed throughout her territory recorded her first successful hunt. The footage showed no hesitation. The ambush was precise, low to the ground through the reed bed, a short explosive sprint through shallow water, and then it was over in seconds. The kill itself was textbook jaguar technique, the signature bite directly through the skull rather than the suffocation method used by most other big cats. An animal that had never hunted, never been taught by a wild mother, had executed a perfect predatory sequence on her first attempt. The instinct had been there all along, waiting for the right landscape to unlock it. What followed over the next 18 months was a masterclass in ecological cascade. The 3 founding jaguars, joined by additional animals from the breeding program as the project progressed, began systematically working through a prey base that had no behavioral memory of apex predation. The capybara population of Iberá had been completely free of jaguar pressure for roughly 70 years of evolutionary complacency. They grazed without urgency, drank without vigilance, and congregated in the open without instinct toward concealment. When the jaguars arrived, those behaviors became catastrophic liabilities. Dr. Carlos D'Angelo, a large carnivore ecologist with Argentina's National Scientific and Technical Research Council, had spent years modeling what jaguar reintroduction might theoretically do to Iberá's prey populations. His models predicted a gradual behavioral shift over several years, a slow recalibration as animals learned through negative experience to avoid open ground and reduce group sizes. What actually happened compressed his predicted timeline by a factor of roughly 5. Within 8 months of the first jaguar release, aerial survey data showed that capybara had substantially redistributed themselves across the wetland system. Dense aggregations near open water had fragmented and moved into heavier vegetation. Time spent feeding in exposed areas dropped markedly. Researchers documented what ecologists call the landscape of fear, the invisible behavioral geography that prey animals create around themselves when a functional apex predator is present in their ecosystem. The capybara had not simply been eaten into lower numbers, they had been frightened into different behaviors, different locations, and fundamentally different patterns of grazing pressure. That shift in behavior produced consequences that rippled through the ecosystem in ways that took the monitoring team several seasons to fully document. The areas of wetland margin that capybara had previously grazed with relentless intensity began to recover. Aquatic vegetation returned to banks that had been kept almost bare by constant herbivore pressure. The regenerating plant growth changed water flow dynamics in the shallow channels, creating new microhabitats for fish and invertebrates. Bird species that required dense emergent vegetation for nesting began recolonizing sections of the wetland margin that had been unusable for decades. The monitoring data for marsh birds in the most heavily jaguar-influenced zones showed species richness increasing within 2 breeding seasons. Researchers from the National University of the Northeast began cross-referencing their bird survey data with jaguar territory maps and found a statistically significant correlation between areas of active jaguar presence and the recovery of wetland bird communities. The jaguar had not directly done anything to benefit the birds. It had simply frightened an herbivore into eating differently, and that single behavioral change had propagated upward through several layers of ecological interactions simultaneously. The caiman population presented a more complex and genuinely surprising story. Caimans are the wetlands' secondary apex predators, large crocodilians that had occupied the top of the food chain during the jaguar's absence. Researchers initially expected significant direct conflict between jaguars and caimans competing for the same prey base and the same riparian territories. What the camera trap network recorded instead was something far more nuanced. Jaguars actively hunt caiman, a behavior well documented in other parts of South America, and Iberá's founding animals began taking caimans within the first year. But rather than simply reducing caiman numbers through predation, the jaguar's presence appeared to alter caiman spatial behavior in ways that reduced the competitive pressure caimans had been placing on smaller predators in the system. Giant river otters, whose population in Iberá had been struggling against intense caiman competition for fish resources in certain channel systems, showed measurable range expansion into areas where jaguar activity was highest. The working hypothesis among researchers is that caiman avoidance of jaguar-dominated zones created competitive release for otters in those areas. A predator reintroduced to control herbivores was simultaneously reorganizing the behavior of a large reptile population and indirectly facilitating the recovery of a mammalian predator that had nothing obvious to do with jaguars at all. Not every thread of this story runs toward triumph. The conflict with local ranching communities began within weeks of the first release and escalated in ways that tested every agreement the project's organizers had spent years building. The first confirmed livestock kill by a jaguar occurred 43 days after Mariua's release. A young bull belonging to a rancher whose property bordered the national park was found dead near a fence line bearing the unmistakable signature of a jaguar kill. The rancher, a man who had been publicly supportive of the reintroduction and had participated in community consultations, was photographed standing over the carcass with an expression that needed no caption. Rewilding Argentina's compensation scheme, which had been designed precisely to address this eventuality, processed his claim within 2 weeks and paid full market value for the animal. But the psychological impact of that first kill extended well beyond one rancher and one bull. People who had been cautiously open to coexistence began asking harder questions about the project's long-term management commitments. The compensation fund, while financially functional, could not fully address the anxiety of knowing that an apex predator capable of killing your livelihood was moving through the landscape beyond any fence line you owned. By 2023, confirmed jaguar livestock depredation events in the greater Iberá region had reached 19 documented cases. The number is not catastrophic by the standards of large carnivore coexistence programs in other parts of the world, but in a region with a specific cultural history of jaguar conflict, each incident carried symbolic weight. Rewilding Argentina responded by scaling up its conflict mitigation infrastructure significantly. A network of camera traps and GPS collar data was made available to participating ranchers through a real-time monitoring app that could alert landowners when a collared jaguar was moving in proximity to their livestock. Guardian dog programs were piloted on several properties with initial results that suggested meaningful reductions in approach events. Livestock enclosure improvement grants were offered to ranchers willing to bring their overnight corrals up to standards that reduced jaguar access. Project director Sebastian Di Martino was frank in interviews about the difficulty. The ecological science, he argued, had proven easier than the human science. The jaguars had adapted to the wetlands without hesitation. Getting people to adapt to the jaguars was the harder problem and the more important one. the population numbers told a story of remarkable velocity. By the end of 2024, Argentina's national jaguar program recorded a total of more than 130 individual jaguars across the country, with the Iberá nucleus accounting for roughly 24 animals, including 12 individuals born wild in the wetlands, the first wild jaguar births in Argentina in living memory. Those wild-born animals represented a threshold that conservationists had identified from the beginning as the true measure of the project's success. Trail camera footage of the first wild-born litters showed kits accompanying their mothers on hunts at ages consistent with normal wild jaguar development, learning to stalk capybara in the reed beds with a fluency that the founding generation had achieved through instinct, but that the second generation was acquiring through education. The genetic profile of the population was also being actively managed. Early assessments had flagged low diversity as a long-term vulnerability, and the program responded by facilitating genetic exchange between Iberá and jaguar populations in Bolivia and Brazil through carefully managed transfers. The broader implications of what had happened in the Iberá wetlands were not lost on the wider conservation world. Projects across Latin America began re-examining assumptions about prey behavior timelines, about the speed at which trophic cascades manifest following apex predator reintroduction, and about the relative tractability of ecological versus social challenges in rewilding contexts. The Iberá data, particularly the compressed timeline of prey behavioral reorganization, was cited extensively in a 2023 review paper published by the Wildlife Conservation Society that examined apex predator recovery programs across 17 countries. The paper identified the Argentine project as one of the most data-rich case studies of trophic cascade dynamics currently available anywhere in the world. But the scientists were equally attentive to the friction. The livestock conflict data from Iberá featured prominently in an emerging body of literature on what researchers have begun calling the social carrying capacity of rewilding programs, a concept that acknowledges that the maximum number of predators an ecosystem can biologically sustain is often considerably higher than the number that the human communities sharing that landscape will accept. The gap between those two numbers is where most large carnivore reintroduction programs eventually stall or collapse, and Iberá was providing real-time data on how to manage it. 3 animals released into a forgotten wetland had done what decades of conservation advocacy had only theorized. They had rebuilt a food web, reshuffled a landscape of fear, and forced a reckoning with the deep question of what wildness actually costs. The jaguars did not ask for permission before they rewrote the rules of the wetland. The capybara had no warning. The caiman reorganized their territories because they had to. The marsh birds found new nesting ground because a chain of consequences they could not perceive had cleared the way for them. None of it was planned by the jaguars. All of it was planned by the ecosystem they had returned to. The question Argentina is still answering season by season and negotiation by negotiation is whether the people who live at the edges of that ecosystem can find a way to plan alongside it rather than against it. What do you think? Can humans and apex predators genuinely share a landscape, or are conflicts like these ultimately incompatible with the realities of farming communities? Leave your thoughts below, and if you want more stories about the wild experiments reshaping our planet's ecosystems, make sure you subscribe so you never miss what comes next.